In the annals of military history, beyond the grand battles and decisive victories, lie stories of extraordinary cunning and creativity. These are the moments where strategy transcends the physical and enters the psychological realm, where a well-timed bluff or a clever ruse can alter the course of history. Picture a battlefield where conventional weapons are set aside in favor of ghostly voices designed to terrorize an enemy, or where the simple act of hurling a potato becomes a life-saving maneuver. These tales, often overshadowed by the larger narratives of war, reveal a different kind of warfare. One where the mind is the most powerful weapon, and where success is determined by the ability to outthink and outmaneuver the enemy. As we explore these episodes of psychological warfare and unconventional tactics, we uncover the hidden layers of conflict that go beyond brute force. Whether it's the ingenious use of a homeless man's corpse to deceive the Nazis or the catapulting of plague-infected bodies to break a siege, these stories remind us that warfare is as much about perception and deception as it is about firepower. They challenge our understanding of what it means to wage war and demonstrate that in the chaos of battle, the most effective strategies are often the ones that defy expectation, turning the ordinary into the extraordinary and the improbable into the impossible. Spooky ghost noises in Vietnam War. In the tangled jungles of Vietnam, where the line between life and death was often blurred, the U.S. Army embarked on one of the most eerie and unconventional psychological operations ever conceived, Operation Wandering Soul. This operation, steeped in the cultural beliefs of the Vietnamese people, aimed to do more than just confront the Viet Cong with bullets and bombs. It sought to attack their psyche, to destabilize their morale, and to exploit their deepest fears in ways that traditional warfare could never achieve. The premise was as simple as it was ingenious. Tap into the spiritual and cultural fabric of the Vietnamese people, a fabric woven with profound respect and fear of the dead, particularly those who died far from home. In Vietnamese culture, it is believed that souls who are not given a proper burial in their homeland are doomed to wander the earth in torment. The U.S. Army, recognizing the potential to use this belief against the Viet Cong, devised an operation that would make even the most hardened soldiers question their place in the afterlife. The execution of Operation Wandering Soul was as chilling as the idea itself. The Army produced audio recordings designed to mimic the eerie sounds of tormented spirits, wails, sobs, and desperate whispers in Vietnamese, purportedly from the souls of fallen Viet Cong who had died without proper rites. These recordings were then broadcast from hidden speakers mounted on helicopters or placed in the dense foliage near enemy encampments. The effect was immediate and deeply unsettling. Soldiers, already worn down by the relentless stress of jungle warfare, would hear these ghostly noises echoing through the night, seemingly coming from the very trees around them. In the stillness of the jungle, where every shadow could hide an enemy and every sound could signal danger, the cries of the wandering souls must have felt like an assault on the very mind and spirit. But the psychological impact of these recordings extended beyond mere fear. For many Viet Cong soldiers, these sounds were a stark reminder of the very real possibility that they, too, could die far from home, without the rituals necessary for their soul's peace. The operation was designed not just to scare but to erode the soldiers' morale, to make them feel isolated and abandoned even by their ancestors. This wasn't just about winning a battle, it was about undermining the enemy's will to fight. And in the context of the Vietnam War, where the jungle was as much a psychological battlefield as a physical one, this tactic added a new layer of complexity to the already intricate struggle between the U.S. forces and the Viet Cong. Interestingly, Operation Wandering Soul did not just affect the enemy. It also had unintended consequences on the South Vietnamese soldiers who were fighting alongside the U.S. Army. These soldiers shared many of the same cultural beliefs as the Viet Cong, and hearing the ghostly recordings had a similarly unsettling effect on them. The very tactic designed to demoralize the enemy inadvertently began to sap the morale of the Allied forces as well. This highlights an important lesson in psychological warfare. When you manipulate cultural or psychological fears, the impact can be far-reaching and unpredictable. The mind, after all, is a battlefield where lines are not always clear, and where the weapons you use can turn against you. This operation also opens up broader questions about the ethics and effectiveness of psychological warfare. By exploiting deeply held cultural beliefs, the U.S. Army was able to create a tactic that was both innovative and terrifying. But it also raises the issue of how far one should go in manipulating the fears and beliefs of others, especially in a way that could have long-term psychological impacts on those involved. While Operation Wandering Soul was undoubtedly effective in the short term, the psychological scars it left behind on both sides of the conflict are harder to measure. In a war where the goal was not just to defeat an enemy, but to win the hearts and minds of the people, such tactics could have lasting repercussions that extend far beyond the battlefield. Yet, the operation also provides valuable insights into the power of psychological warfare and its potential to change the course of conflicts. In modern times, where battles are often fought as much in the realm of information and perception as on the physical battlefield, understanding how to influence the thoughts and emotions of others is more important than ever. Operation Wandering Soul is a stark reminder of the power that psychological tactics can wield, but also of the care that must be taken when employing them. The echoes of those ghostly recordings in the Vietnamese jungle are a testament to the enduring impact of psychological warfare, both for those who wield it and those who are targeted by it. One of the most fascinating aspects of this operation is how it has continued to resonate in the study of psychological warfare and military tactics. It serves as a case study in the use of cultural knowledge as a weapon, showing how an understanding of the enemy's beliefs and values can be just as crucial as knowing their troop movements or supply lines. This kind of insight is not just applicable in warfare, but in any situation where influencing human behavior is the goal. Whether in marketing, politics, or social movements, the lessons of Operation Wandering Soul highlight the importance of understanding the psychological landscape of those you wish to influence. Moreover, Operation Wandering Soul has become a part of the broader narrative of the Vietnam War, illustrating the lengths to which both sides were willing to go to achieve their objectives. The war itself was a complex and multifaceted conflict, fought on multiple fronts: military, political, and psychological. In this context, the operation stands out as an example of how psychological tactics were integrated into the broader strategy of the war, reflecting the deep understanding of the human element in conflict. The fear of wandering souls was not just a tool of warfare. It was a reflection of the broader psychological struggles that defined the Vietnam War, both for those who fought it and for those who lived through it. In contemporary military strategy, the legacy of Operation Wandering Soul continues to influence the way psychological operations are conceived and executed. The operation demonstrated the potential of non-lethal tactics to achieve military objectives, influencing the development of similar strategies in conflicts around the world. It also serves as a reminder of the importance of cultural sensitivity in warfare, a lesson that is just as relevant today as it was during the Vietnam War. Understanding the beliefs and values of others can be a powerful tool, but it also requires a deep respect for the impact that such tactics can have on the human psyche. Operation Wandering Soul also offers a unique perspective on the broader theme of unconventional warfare. In a conflict where the rules were constantly being rewritten, the operation stands out as an example of how innovation and creativity can be used to gain an advantage over a seemingly insurmountable enemy. The U.S. Army's ability to think outside the box and use psychological tactics in such a novel way is a testament to the adaptability and resourcefulness that defined much of the Vietnam War. But it also serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us that the most powerful weapons in warfare are often those that target the mind rather than the body. For those studying military history or tactics, Operation Wandering Soul offers a wealth of lessons and insights. It challenges conventional notions of warfare, pushing the boundaries of what is considered acceptable or effective in the pursuit of military objectives. It also underscores the importance of understanding the human element in conflict, a factor that is often overlooked in favor of more tangible considerations like troop numbers or firepower. The operation's success, and its unintended consequences, highlight the complex interplay between psychology and warfare, offering valuable lessons for anyone interested in the art of military strategy. In conclusion, Operation Wandering Soul stands as a powerful example of the impact that psychological tactics can have in warfare. It shows how deeply ingrained cultural beliefs can be used as a weapon, but also how such tactics must be handled with care. The operation's legacy continues to influence military strategy and psychological operations to this day, serving as both a blueprint for success and a cautionary tale. As we continue to explore the ways in which psychological tactics are used in conflict, the lessons of Operation Wandering Soul remain as relevant as ever, offering insights that go far beyond the battlefield. Dead guy fools Nazis. In the theater of war, where strategy often dictates the difference between victory and defeat, the story of Operation Mincemeat stands out as a masterclass in deception and psychological warfare. This operation, carried out by the Allies during World War II, was not merely a clever ploy. It was a meticulously planned and executed ruse that demonstrated the extraordinary lengths to which the Allies were willing to go to secure a strategic advantage over the Axis powers. At the heart of this operation was a dead man, a homeless individual whose identity would be transformed into that of a British officer in order to deceive the Nazi regime. The background of Operation Mincemeat is as fascinating as the operation itself. In 1943, the Allies were preparing to invade Sicily, a critical stepping stone for launching further assaults into mainland Europe. However, the Germans were well aware of Sicily's strategic importance and had fortified the island heavily. To ensure the success of the invasion, the Allies needed to divert the German forces away from Sicily, making them believe that the invasion would take place elsewhere. The challenge was to create a deception so convincing that the Germans would redirect their defenses without suspecting a ruse. The solution came in the form of a plan that was as audacious as it was macabre. The British intelligence services, led by Ewan Montagu and Charles Chumley, devised a scheme to plant fake documents on a corpse that would be found by the Germans. The body would be presented as that of Major William Martin of the Royal Marines, an officer carrying top-secret documents revealing the Allies' plans to invade Greece and Sardinia. To pull off this deception, every detail had to be perfect, right down to the personal effects carried by the dead man. The first challenge was to find a suitable body. The chosen corpse was that of Glwr Michael, a homeless man who had died from ingesting rat poison. His body was preserved and dressed in a Royal Marine uniform, with the rank and name of Major William Martin. But the uniform and identity were only part of the deception. To make the identity of Major Martin believable, the intelligence officers created a detailed backstory for him. They gave him a fiancée named Pam, complete with love letters, a photograph, and a receipt for an engagement ring. They even added a letter from his father and a bill for an overdraft, making Major Martin a fully fleshed-out character who could have plausibly existed. These personal touches were crucial. The Germans, like any adversary, would be suspicious if they found a dead body carrying only military documents. The personal effects helped to create the illusion of a real person, someone who had a life outside of the war, making the planted military documents seem all the more genuine. This attention to detail was critical in convincing the Germans that they had stumbled upon a significant intelligence coup. Once the body was prepared, it was placed in a canister filled with dry ice to preserve it during transport. The canister was then dropped into the sea off the coast of Spain, where it was intended to wash ashore near the town of Huelva. Spain, though officially neutral, had strong fascist sympathies, and the British were confident that the local authorities would pass the documents to the Germans. The body was discovered by a local fisherman, and as expected, the documents eventually made their way into German hands. The reaction of the Germans to the discovery of the documents was exactly what the Allies had hoped for. The fake papers detailed plans for an Allied invasion of Greece and Sardinia, with Sicily mentioned only as a feint. The Germans, convinced of the authenticity of the documents, redirected their forces to defend Greece and Sardinia, leaving Sicily less heavily defended. The deception was so effective that Hitler himself was convinced of the validity of the information, ordering reinforcements to the supposed invasion sites. As a result of Operation Mincemeat, when the Allies launched Operation Husky, the invasion of Sicily, they faced significantly less resistance than they would have otherwise. The invasion was a success, marking a turning point in the Mediterranean campaign. Operation Mincemeat had not only achieved its immediate objective of misleading the Germans, but it also demonstrated the profound impact that psychological warfare and deception could have on the outcome of military operations. The success of Operation Mincemeat can be attributed to several key factors. First and foremost was the meticulous planning and attention to detail that went into crafting the identity of Major William Martin. The British intelligence officers understood that for the deception to work, every element had to be believable. The inclusion of personal items, such as the love letters and photograph, was a stroke of genius that added a human element to the operation, making it more difficult for the Germans to question the authenticity of the documents. Another critical factor was the Allies' deep understanding of the German intelligence apparatus and the psychology of the Nazi leadership. The British knew that the Germans would be eager to exploit any intelligence they could gather, especially information that seemed to offer a strategic advantage. By feeding the Germans information that aligned with their expectations, the Allies were able to manipulate their adversaries into acting in ways that ultimately benefited the Allied cause. The success of the operation also highlights the importance of timing and execution. The discovery of the body and the documents was carefully orchestrated to coincide with the build-up to the invasion of Sicily. The timing ensured that the Germans would have just enough time to react to the supposed intelligence, but not enough time to uncover the deception. This careful coordination was essential in ensuring that the Germans would be caught off guard when the real invasion took place. Moreover, Operation Mincemeat serves as a powerful example of the effectiveness of non-lethal tactics in warfare. In an era where battles were often won and lost through sheer force, this operation showed that deception and psychological manipulation could achieve results that might otherwise require significant bloodshed. The ability to influence the enemy's decision-making process without direct confrontation provided a valuable lesson in the broader context of military strategy. The legacy of Operation Mincemeat extends beyond its immediate impact on the outcome of World War II. It has since become a classic case study in intelligence operations and psychological warfare, illustrating the power of narrative and the importance of understanding one's adversary. The operation demonstrated that wars are not only fought on the battlefield but also in the minds of those who plan and execute military campaigns. The story of Major William Martin, though fictional, had real and far-reaching consequences, shaping the course of history in ways that continue to be studied and admired. In today's world, where information is often the most valuable commodity, the lessons of Operation Mincemeat are more relevant than ever. The operation underscores the importance of credibility and attention to detail in any endeavor that seeks to influence others. Whether in business, politics, or warfare, the ability to craft a convincing narrative and to anticipate the reactions of others can be a decisive factor in achieving one's objectives. The story of Operation Mincemeat is a reminder that even in the most dire of circumstances, creativity and cunning can turn the tide of events. Furthermore, the operation also serves as a cautionary tale about the risks and ethical considerations of deception in warfare. While Operation Mincemeat was a resounding success, it raises important questions about the morality of using deception to achieve strategic goals. The use of a dead body, the creation of a fictional identity, and the manipulation of the enemy's perception all highlight the ethical complexities involved in such operations. While the outcome may have justified the means in this case, it is a reminder that the use of deception in warfare is not without its consequences. In reflecting on Operation Mincemeat, it is clear that the operation was a product of its time, an era where the stakes were incredibly high and the boundaries of conventional warfare were constantly being pushed. Yet, the principles that underpinned the operation, attention to detail, understanding the adversary, and the power of narrative, remain timeless. As we continue to study the history of warfare, Operation Mincemeat stands out as a testament to the ingenuity and resourcefulness that can define military strategy in the most challenging of circumstances. The story of Operation Mincemeat is one that continues to captivate historians, military strategists, and the general public alike. It is a story of how a simple idea, executed with precision and care, can alter the course of history. As we delve deeper into the various deceptions and psychological tactics used throughout history, the lessons of Operation Mincemeat offer valuable insights into the art of war and the enduring power of the human mind to shape the outcomes of conflict. Fake cannons in Revolutionary War. The American Revolutionary War was a time of immense struggle, where the underdog colonists faced the might of the British Empire. Outgunned and outnumbered, the American forces had to rely on ingenuity and resourcefulness to level the playing field. One of the most fascinating examples of this was the use of Quaker guns, logs painted to look like cannons, by the Continental Army. This simple yet effective ruse allowed the colonists to bluff their way through encounters with British forces, demonstrating that sometimes the mere appearance of strength can be as powerful as the real thing. The concept of the Quaker gun is rooted in a fundamental principle of warfare: deception. Named after the pacifist Quakers, who famously shunned violence, these fake cannons were used by the American forces to create the illusion of artillery power where none actually existed. In a time when cannons were a critical component of military might, the sight of these cannons would give the British pause, making them believe they were up against a more formidable force than was actually present. This psychological tactic played on the fear and uncertainty that often accompany warfare, forcing the enemy to reconsider their plans without a single shot being fired. One of the most famous instances of Quaker guns being used effectively occurred at the Battle of Bluffton. The Continental Army, knowing they were vastly outnumbered and lacking in real artillery, set up a series of Quaker guns along the defensive lines. When British scouts observed these cannons, they reported back that the American forces were heavily fortified. This caused the British to delay their attack, giving the Americans valuable time to regroup and reinforce their position. In the end, the British withdrew without engaging, proving that the mere threat of force, when convincingly portrayed, can achieve the same result as actual combat. This tactic of using fake cannons was not just a one-time trick. It became a recurring strategy throughout the Revolutionary War. The colonists, often short on supplies and weaponry, used Quaker guns to bolster their defenses in several key battles. The psychological impact of these deceptions cannot be overstated. The British, who were used to overwhelming their enemies with superior firepower, were repeatedly forced to confront the possibility that they might be facing an equally well-equipped opponent. This uncertainty, fueled by the sight of Quaker guns, disrupted British military planning and contributed to the overall success of the American war effort. The effectiveness of the Quaker guns underscores an important lesson in both military strategy and life. Perception often shapes reality. By creating the illusion of strength, the American forces were able to alter the course of battles and, by extension, the war itself. This strategy is a reminder that in any conflict, whether on the battlefield, in business, or in personal endeavors, the way you present yourself can be just as crucial as your actual capabilities. The ability to project confidence and strength, even when resources are limited, can often lead to outcomes that might otherwise seem unattainable. As we consider the broader implications of the Quaker gun strategy, it's clear that this form of psychological warfare has applications far beyond the battlefield. In the world of business, for example, companies often use similar tactics to create the perception of market dominance or innovation, even when their resources are limited. Just as the American forces used fake cannons to intimidate the British, businesses might use strategic marketing, branding, or even selective disclosure of information to create an image of strength that can influence competitors and customers alike. The legacy of the Quaker guns extends into modern military strategy as well. Deception and psychological tactics continue to play a crucial role in contemporary warfare, where the ability to mislead the enemy can be just as important as physical force. The use of decoys, camouflage, and misinformation are all modern iterations of the same principle that guided the use of Quaker guns during the Revolutionary War. The goal remains the same: to shape the enemy's perception in a way that creates a strategic advantage. The story of the Quaker guns also serves as a reminder of the power of innovation and adaptability in the face of overwhelming odds. The American forces, outmatched in nearly every conventional measure, were able to turn the tide of the war through creativity and unconventional thinking. This spirit of innovation is a hallmark of successful military campaigns throughout history and is a quality that continues to be valued in all areas of life. Whether in war, business, or personal challenges, the ability to think creatively and use resources in unexpected ways can often be the key to overcoming even the most daunting obstacles. In the grand scheme of the American Revolutionary War, the use of Quaker guns might seem like a minor detail. Yet, this simple tactic had a significant impact, illustrating the broader theme of how psychological warfare and deception can influence the outcome of conflicts. The ability to manipulate perception and create the illusion of strength was a vital tool in the American arsenal, and it contributed to the eventual success of the revolution. As we continue to explore the various deceptions and strategies used throughout history, the story of the Quaker guns reminds us that sometimes the most powerful weapons are those that exist only in the mind. Potato assault against a submarine. In the vast and treacherous waters of World War II, where naval battles were often decided by torpedoes and depth charges, one of the most unusual and clever encounters took place between the crew of the USS O'Bannon and a Japanese submarine. This story, known as the potato assault, is a testament to the power of quick thinking and the unexpected in warfare. It's not just a tale of naval prowess, but of how creativity and resourcefulness can turn the tide of battle in the most improbable ways. The incident occurred in 1943 when the USS O'Bannon, a destroyer of the U.S. Navy, found itself face to face with a Japanese submarine. The O'Bannon, having spotted the submarine on the surface, closed in, ready to launch a conventional attack. However, as the destroyer approached, the crew realized they were too close to use their deck guns without risking a collision. The Japanese sailors, equally surprised by the proximity of the American ship, rushed to their deck gun to defend themselves. What followed was an extraordinary moment of improvisation that would go down in naval history. As the Japanese crew scrambled to man their weapon, the sailors aboard the USS O'Bannon needed to act fast. With no time to prepare their own guns and the threat of enemy fire imminent, they resorted to the most unexpected of weapons: potatoes. Yes, potatoes. The O'Bannon's crew began hurling potatoes at the Japanese sailors, who, in the confusion of the moment, mistook them for grenades. Believing they were under attack by explosive projectiles, the Japanese crew panicked and abandoned their deck gun, scrambling to throw the grenades overboard before they could detonate. This bizarre yet brilliant maneuver bought the USS O'Bannon enough time to put distance between itself and the submarine, allowing it to reposition and prepare for a more conventional attack. The quick thinking of the O'Bannon's crew had turned a potentially deadly situation into a moment of high-seas farce, where a simple root vegetable became a tool of war. The submarine, now defenseless, was forced to submerge, and the O'Bannon successfully completed its mission without a single shot fired in that exchange. The incident was later celebrated as a perfect example of how ingenuity and the element of surprise can be just as effective as firepower. The potato assault is more than just an amusing anecdote. It highlights an essential truth about warfare. Adaptability and creativity are as crucial as strength and numbers. In the chaos of battle, where plans can quickly fall apart, the ability to think on one's feet and use whatever is at hand can make all the difference. The crew of the USS O'Bannon didn't have time to ponder their options. They saw an opportunity and took it, using an unconventional means to achieve their objective. This kind of quick decision-making under pressure is a skill that extends far beyond the battlefield. Whether in business, negotiations, or personal challenges, the ability to adapt quickly and think creatively in the face of adversity is often what separates success from failure. Moreover, the story of the potato assault speaks to the broader theme of psychological warfare. The Japanese sailors were not defeated by superior firepower, but by their own fear and confusion. The potatoes, harmless in themselves, became powerful weapons in the minds of those who believed they were under attack. This incident underscores how psychological factors can play a critical role in combat, where the perception of danger can be as effective as the danger itself. The ability to induce panic or hesitation in an enemy, even through unconventional means, can provide a strategic advantage that more straightforward tactics might not achieve. In a broader context, the potato assault also reflects the importance of improvisation in situations where conventional methods are unavailable or ineffective. The crew of the USS O'Bannon could have hesitated, waiting for the perfect moment to use their conventional weapons, but instead, they acted with what they had available. This kind of improvisation is valuable in any high-pressure situation where the original plan has gone awry. The lesson here is clear. Sometimes, the best course of action is the one that isn't in the playbook. By thinking outside the box, or in this case, the galley, The O'Bannon's crew demonstrated that success often comes from the willingness to embrace the unexpected. The potato assault against the Japanese submarine has since become a legendary tale within naval history, a story passed down through generations of sailors as a symbol of the ingenuity and resourcefulness that are hallmarks of the U.S. Navy. It serves as a reminder that in the fog of war, where uncertainty reigns, those who can adapt and improvise are often the ones who emerge victorious. The O'Bannon's crew didn't just survive a dangerous encounter. They turned it into a triumph of human creativity over the rigid expectations of conventional warfare. As we consider the broader implications of this story, it's clear that the potato assault is more than just a quirky footnote in the history of World War II. It embodies the idea that the tools of war are not just the weapons we carry but the minds we use. In a world where the unexpected can happen at any moment, the ability to respond with creativity and confidence is invaluable. The crew of the USS O'Bannon didn't just think outside the box. They threw the box overboard and used potatoes instead. And in doing so, they left behind a legacy that continues to inspire and amuse to this day. As we move forward in exploring the other innovative and unconventional tactics used in warfare, the story of the potato assault serves as a reminder of the power of the unexpected and the value of quick thinking. It's a lesson that applies not only to military strategy but to any situation where the stakes are high and the outcomes are uncertain. Just as the crew of the USS O'Bannon showed, sometimes the most effective weapon is the one you never expected to use. Catapulting plague bodies. The history of warfare is filled with tales of brutality and ingenuity, but few tactics are as chilling or as consequential as the events that transpired during the Siege of Caffa in 1347. This episode is often cited as one of the earliest examples of biological warfare, where the Mongol forces, besieging the Genoese-held city of Caffa, modern-day Feodosia in Crimea, used the plague as a weapon to devastating effect. What began as a conventional military siege quickly escalated into a horrific episode that would have far-reaching consequences, not just for the city of Caffa, but for the entire world. The siege was part of the larger conflict between the Mongols and the Genoese, who were trading in the Black Sea region. As the Mongol army, under the command of Khan Yani Beg, laid siege to Caffa, a deadly plague began to ravage their ranks. This was no ordinary illness. It was the Black Death, the bubonic plague that would go on to decimate populations across Europe, Asia, and North Africa. Faced with the devastating impact of the plague on their own forces and unable to breach the fortified city walls through conventional means, the Mongols resorted to a terrifying and desperate strategy. They began to catapult the bodies of their plague-stricken soldiers over the walls and into the city. The use of diseased corpses as a weapon was as gruesome as it was effective. The bodies, rotting and infected, were hurled into Caffa, where the plague quickly spread among the inhabitants. The Genoese defenders, already under the strain of the siege, now found themselves battling an invisible enemy within their own walls. The psychological impact of this tactic was immense. The sight of dead bodies being flung into the city, coupled with the rapid onset of the disease, must have shattered the morale of the defenders. The Mongols, even in their desperation, had unleashed a weapon that transcended the physical battlefield, turning disease into a tool of war. The Siege of Caffa is significant not only for its immediate impact but also for the role it played in the wider spread of the Black Death. As the plague took hold in Caffa, many of the Genoese fled the city by ship, unknowingly carrying the disease with them to other ports across the Mediterranean. From there, the plague spread like wildfire, eventually reaching Italy, France, and beyond, triggering one of the deadliest pandemics in human history. In this way, the Mongols' use of biological warfare at Caffa inadvertently set the stage for a catastrophe that would reshape the course of European history. The use of plague-infected bodies at Caffa also raises profound ethical questions about the nature of warfare. The deliberate use of disease as a weapon, especially in a form as virulent as the Black Death, represents a particularly dark chapter in the history of conflict. It highlights the lengths to which desperate forces might go when conventional means fail, and the devastating consequences that can result when the boundaries of warfare are pushed beyond the limits of what is considered humane. The Siege of Caffa serves as a stark reminder of the dangers inherent in the weaponization of biological agents, a lesson that resonates even more strongly in the modern world, where the potential for biological warfare remains a very real and terrifying threat. In the broader context of military history, the Siege of Caffa is an early example of unconventional warfare, where victory is sought not just through direct combat but through the exploitation of environmental and biological factors. The Mongols, known for their brutal efficiency and tactical innovation, understood that in warfare, the psychological impact on the enemy could be just as important as the physical destruction inflicted. By using the bodies of their own dead as weapons, they demonstrated a ruthless understanding of this principle. The defenders of Caffa, already struggling to withstand the siege, were psychologically crushed by the sight and smell of death being literally thrown at them. This incident also illustrates the unintended consequences that can arise from the use of such tactics. While the Mongols succeeded in spreading the plague within Caffa, they could not have anticipated the broader pandemic that their actions would help to ignite. This aspect of the Siege of Caffa serves as a cautionary tale about the unpredictable nature of biological warfare. Once unleashed, a biological agent like the plague does not discriminate between friend and foe, nor can it be easily controlled. The resulting devastation can spiral far beyond the initial intent, causing harm on a scale that no one could have foreseen. The events at Caffa also serve as a powerful reminder of the interconnectedness of human societies. The spread of the Black Death, facilitated in part by the actions at Caffa, underscores how quickly and devastatingly a local conflict or tactic can have global repercussions. In today's world, where the movement of people and goods is faster and more widespread than ever before, the lessons of Caffa are particularly relevant. The potential for a localized event, whether a natural outbreak or a deliberate act of biological warfare, to trigger a global crisis remains a critical concern for governments and international organizations alike. As we consider the broader implications of the Siege of Caffa, it's clear that this event was not just a tragic episode in a faraway war but a pivotal moment in the history of both warfare and disease. It marks the intersection of military strategy and epidemiology, illustrating how the tools and tactics of war can have unintended and far-reaching consequences. The use of plague as a weapon at Caffa is a reminder of the darker side of human ingenuity in warfare, where the pursuit of victory can lead to the exploitation of the most destructive forces known to humanity. The Siege of Caffa, and the subsequent spread of the Black Death, also serves as a stark warning about the dangers of biological warfare in the modern era. With advances in biotechnology and the ongoing threat of pandemics, the potential for biological agents to be used as weapons remains a significant concern. The lessons from Caffa highlight the importance of international cooperation and stringent controls over biological research to prevent the misuse of such agents. As we reflect on the events of 1347, we are reminded of the devastating power of disease and the ethical responsibility that comes with the knowledge and capability to manipulate it. In summary, the Siege of Caffa and the use of plague bodies as weapons stand as one of the most chilling examples of biological warfare in history. The Mongols, through their desperate and ruthless tactics, unwittingly contributed to the spread of one of the deadliest pandemics in human history. This event underscores the profound impact that unconventional warfare tactics can have, not just on the immediate conflict but on the course of history itself. As we move forward in exploring other wartime deceptions and tactics, the lessons of Caffa remain a powerful reminder of the consequences that can arise when the boundaries of warfare are pushed to their most extreme limits. Conclusion. As we've journeyed through these remarkable stories of unconventional warfare, from ghostly whales in the jungles of Vietnam to the catapulting of plague-ridden bodies during the Siege of Caffa, one theme becomes undeniably clear. The power of the mind and imagination in conflict is as potent as any physical weapon. These tales remind us that warfare is not just about who has the biggest guns or the most soldiers, but who can outthink and outmaneuver their opponent, often with the most unexpected tools at their disposal. These strategies, whether they involve exploiting cultural beliefs or turning a mundane object like a potato into a weapon, highlight the creativity and resourcefulness that are crucial in the art of war. They also serve as cautionary tales, warning of the ethical and long-term consequences that can arise from such tactics. As we reflect on these episodes from history, we're reminded that the lessons of warfare often extend far beyond the battlefield, offering insights into the power of deception, the importance of psychological strategy, and the enduring impact of innovation under pressure.